Hi everybody, this is Chris Sear, and I'm doing a video series here for you on American Rally Association. So if you don't know much about stage rally, or you know a little bit about stage rally, in the U.S. there was Rally America, you saw NASA Rally Sport, and then in this last year you saw a new player in the field, and that was American Rally Association. So I was the vice president of American Rally Association. I helped start it, and I wanted to just give you guys some history and background, and hopefully make sure that you understand the business sides of things in the sport of stage rally, so that you have that advantage and you can use it for yourself. So hopefully you can maybe do some stages or get involved with volunteering or whatever you might want to do. So we're going to go through a little bit of the history. So starting before ARA, rally in the US started about 40 years ago, competitively good stage rallies. There were a group of people putting on stage rallies, and eventually SCCA got involved and they started doing regional and national stage rallies. They were also doing TSD rally and a bunch of other types of rally for a number of years. And eventually in early 2000s there were some issues and even some deaths, and SCCA thought it was too dangerous to continue to support the sport of stage rally. So that's when you saw Rally America born. And right after Rally America is born, you start to see some really big names start to come into the sport of stage rally. So Ken Block, Travis Pastrana, Tanner Faust, and there's really good competition. There's some really good manufacturer backing. It doesn't take long though, and over time people start to get frustrated, infighting happens, you see the growth of NASA Rally Sport, so now there's two sanctioning bodies, and so even Rally America was sold, and so there's a new owner in Rally America, and so people were just trying to look for some consistency. Kind of everything came to a head in 2014. A group of frustrated individuals from different background, organizers, competitors, got together and wanted to create a new sanctioning body to try to solve some of the problems. Due to some poor leadership and issues, that actually got disbanded. It wasn't able to come to full fruition, and so event organizers were left in 2015 to try to solve their own problems. So a lot of the organizers got together and they created a list of issues, and it's funny because they started to really notice how many issues were similar across all the events. The events weren't really doing a good job of reaching out to each other, but in 2015 all that changed. I was managing New England Forest Rally, or I do manage New England Forest Rally, so I was on that side of the world, and I also manage Team O'Neill Rally School, so I have some, the business background. I understand what's going on, and especially managing New England Forest Rally, I was seeing a lot of the issues that they had. So the events kind of put the wish list together of a prioritized list of all the things they wanted to see changed in the sport of rally, and they kept trying to work inside of Rally America to make those changes. But once we kind of saw the writing on the wall that the biggest issues that we had weren't being addressed, we realized we kind of had to solve our own problem. And so some of the issues were, the clarity of insurance, the media rights and how the media was being addressed. It was just, we felt was being really restrictive, and we have a longer list of nitpicky more items, but those two, the insurance and the media rights, were two really big issues that weren't really being addressed to our satisfaction. So it was something that we thought, we couldn't really move forward without trying to address the problem. So in late 2015 we started to do research. Okay, why was SCCA successful for as long as they were? What has the WRC been doing? What are the guys in Canada who've been running sanctioning longer than any of the US sanctioning bodies for rally? What were those guys doing? What were some of the other sanctioning bodies of other motorsports doing? And we really found that being a non-profit structure was a big deal. So Rally America and NASA are both for-profit entities, and we felt that was a core issue, and why things weren't being able to be changed was, a single point of power, someone being able to be in charge without needing to get input from anyone else. And so we felt being a nonprofit was a top priority. So in February of 2016, we formally created American Rally Association. You need 5 people to create a nonprofit. So we had Tim O'Neill, the owner of Team O'Neill Rally School, myself, the general manager of Team O'Neill, Martin Headland, who is a national champion co-driver, Doug Shepard, and one of our advisors, Rich, who was helping us advise us on the structure of nonprofits and how to run a nonprofit successfully. So February 2016, we actually formally created ARA. All the events are still currently being run under Rally America, but we all knew, this new thing was coming. So we really spent that time in early 2016 to start to recruit people and get some support. And we knew we kind of just had to really start to execute. So had to put a set of rules together, had to get a structure, had to do all the business side of things. So we started as a small group, talking to all the events, who's on board, who's not on board, what do you need to be on board, talking to sponsors, hey, this is coming, what would you want to see from a new sanctioning body, getting feedback and input from these people. And so, we really hit the ground running in early 2016. We're building steam, and we had a lot of things in place by July of 2016. New England Forest Rally was happening in July, and Tim O'Neill was essentially appointed the head of this new series. We called it American Rally Association at the time because we just didn't really have a better name, and so we just called it American Rally Association. Tim was heading it up, and July is the New England Forest Rally, which Tim owns, New England Forest Rally, or Team O'Neill owns. So we wanted to be the one to take the brunt of the issues if Rally America was going to fight us. So we decided to announce American Rally Association in July of 2016, just prior to New England Forest Rally, to make sure everyone knew we were going to exist in 2017, but to really give us enough time to create the support and backing, get sponsors on board, get events on board, and we got the Ojibwe Forest Rally on board as well, because we knew they were going to have to go after us. New England Forest Rally is in July, Ojibwe is in August, and so if we announced in July, Ojibwe could potentially have issues as well. So it was a big debate whether or not we announced that early. We didn't have all the answers in place, and when we announced in July, we actually lost some support, and some people kind of left ARA thinking we were moving too fast, and didn't think that we were going to be able to be successful. But it was no turning back at that point in July of 2016, and we announced. And it was great because when we announced, we put up a Google form of, hey, if you want to help become a volunteer for ARA, put your name here. And we were overwhelmed with over 200 volunteers around the country wanting to help. And so, we were overwhelmed, honestly, with trying to put people in place and make sure we can use all this newfound support so that we could actually make ARA happen. And we actually leveraged a lot of the Canadian Rally Association. They got on board pretty early with the concept of our structure, and they gave us their rule book to start from. So we didn't have to start from scratch with a rule book. The Canadian Rally Association helped us out and allowed us to steal the rule book and recreate a rule book from there. And we really started to hit the ground running. Fall of 2016, September timeline, we actually kind of had a secret meeting, and I call it the meeting of the stubborn Yankees, because Tim O'Neill and the owner of Rally America got in a room, and they spent a whole day trying to hash out what would have to happen. And the benefit of that meeting was, Rally America was definitely really willing to listen finally to the needs of the organizer, and we thought there was an opportunity to make ARA go away. We really didn't want to make ARA happen as long as we could address all the concerns that we had, and we were confident that the sanctioning body would be able to take over. If you know anything about what's happened over the last year, you can tell that ARA still existed, so that out of that meeting the solutions weren't able to be put in place. And so that was for us kind of that full commitment in September of 2016. We knew there wasn't really any hope left of trying to work inside of a structure that existed, so we decided to move forward and make a new sanctioning body. So one of our first real big things is we needed to put someone in place to actually manage the sanctioning body. So I was fully devoted to it. My time and effort was fully spent on making sure ARA was successful, but I was still managing Team O'Neill. We didn't want anyone to think that there was going to be any benefit to Team O'Neill, because it was truly an altruistic move. We wanted to help support the stage rally series. We wanted to make sure that stage rally was successful, but we didn't want people to think Team O'Neill was trying to be the one benefiting. So we wanted to look for someone to manage the series, take over decision making, competition decisions. So we were looking for a competition director. And through a bunch of interviews, we ended up hiring Eric Nelson, and we kind of had a new board. We had a whole board of directors from a bunch of different backgrounds, some West Coast, some East Coast, and Eric we put at the helm as essentially the only paid employee of American Rally Association to take over and make some of the day-to-day decisions. Martin Headland, there's a lot of people that I should be giving credit to through this video, and I'm not going to be able to, but Martin Headland spent almost all of 2016 writing our rule book. We started to get more people's input and feedback, but he took a lot of the brunt of the work on that structure and that impact. I was trying to deal with the structure. My background is in business. I've helped start a number of businesses, and so with that background, I was focused on structure. And at the end of the day, Eric was operations. He was the day-to-day guy, and so we had over 20 volunteers and other different things helping out. And I don't mean to limit all of that great help that we got, but there was a lot of things going on, which was really cool to see. We had a meeting at Team O'Neill in December of 2016, which was the first formal American Rally Association annual general meeting. That's a mouthful. ARA AGM 2016. And so we made sure we kind of had a structure in place, and we kind of hit the ground running. Hitting 2017 with a solid set of rules was one of our top priorities. And with that, the rules, we were really grateful for the car structure, but we were going through line by line trying to create our own rule book. And with that, we were, a big component of this was the last few years Subaru has been a dominant force in stage rally, and rightfully so. They've stayed around, they've spent a lot of money in R&D and development, and they do have the best car, no question. So our debate was, do we try to limit Subaru, or do we try to grow the rest of the sport to get up to Subaru's level? So our rule book kind of tried to address both those things, and we wanted to make it so that people could come out and compete and really have that story to tell. And I think we were able to make some big strides in 2017 in allowing cars to be closer. And through that, I personally, as a business guy, learned a lot about Subaru of America versus Vermont Sports Car. So they are synonymous. They work together closely, but they are two fully separate businesses. And so Subaru of America came on early as a supporter of American Rally Association. I worked with Rob Weir personally, and we set up a structure and put a deal in place that ensured financially ARA would be able to move forward. But as a nonprofit, there was no way for us to really give much back to Subaru. So there's a lot of people who think that Subaru controlled things or made decisions, but truly as a nonprofit, we were not able to give back to Subaru. So for them, it was an altruistic move to support ARA. With Rally America or these other sanctioning, for-profit sanctioning bodies, they could give money and get their checklist of items back. With ARA, it was clear from the beginning, this was money to make sure we survived, but to get your return, all we needed to do was get them a place to go play so that they could tell their story. And so Subaru of America partnered with ARA, and Vermont Sports Car fulfilled the racing side of things, but ARA really never worked with Vermont Sports Car. So, talking with them about rules or any of that stuff, we made all of our rules for the way we felt they were best, and we implemented them onto Subaru and, or onto Vermont Sports Car. And so there was frustration, and they wanted things a different way, and we wanted things, we had to defend some of our decisions, but, at the end of the day, we won because we had a nonprofit structure. There was a process in place. There wasn't a single point of contact, and so if the board voted it that way, then that's the way it was. So I was grateful for the support of Subaru, and they're continuing to support ARA. I'm grateful for Vermont Sports Car being there and competing and doing everything we could, but we were a little bit heavy-handed for sure on the ARA side of things, and not many people know that. From the outward perspective, Subaru benefited a lot from our series and our season, but none of the decisions we ever made were for the benefit of Subaru. All of our decisions were for the benefit of the sport, and that's where I think Subaru does have a lot of background, and they are all about the benefit of the sport. So even at things that hurt them directly, so it's really impressive what they've done. Rolling into 2017, we decided to partner with the Canadian Rally Association with our first event up at Pierce Neige, and that was really cool. One, it was amazing to get the support from CARS. They're an established sanctioning body. There was no reason for them to really be as supportive as they have been, but Terry Epp and John Hall and all the guys up in Canada have been really grateful. I've been really grateful too. And essentially, Pierce Neige allowed us to put on training wheels and watch, these guys who've been doing it for decades, be able to run their series. And we learned a ton from that co-sanctioned event with Canada Rally Association, Pierce Neige, and ARA. And it was a cool story for Subaru to come up, and Toyota came up with their RAV4, and we were able to just have a really cool one-off event as part of our national series. And again, I'm so grateful for the ability to have our training wheels on them, really get a chance to learn from those guys, and really kind of help set our sights on a really good 2018 or 2017 series. Then we rolled into our series. So we had Oregon Trail, Olympus, STPR, New England Forest Rally, and Ojibwe as the U.S. rounds of our series. From the event side of things, one of the biggest things we were able to deliver as a sanctioning body was the cost. So from New England, I'm talking from New England Forest Rally's perspective, we spent $22,000 in event and expenses to Rally America in 2016. We paid $13,500 in expenses to ARA, and ARA also gave us a check for $6,000 in sponsorship. So effectively making our sanctioning costs around $8,000, where we were paying $22,000 the year before. So from a financial component alone, the change from ARA to from RA to ARA was a huge benefit to the events. And part of all the feedback we were getting from the events back in 2015 was profitability. Most of the events were not being break-even profitable or profitable. So we wanted to lower expenses, and we were leveraging sponsorships, and the Subaru sponsorship and the Toyota sponsorship both required that the money get delivered to the events. So we were able to do that, and that was a really cool opportunity that we were able to deliver. Also in 2017, the competition, you know, a brand new rule book is going to have issues, and if you guys were paying attention or a competitor, you saw our issues were pretty apparent pretty fast. So we were issuing bulletins, trying to address our holes, and definitely dealing with that. Everything kind of came to a head at New England Forest Rally. We allowed Travis Pastrana to get back in the car and actually get points after he had an issue with his co-driver, and we also had an issue where we realized our tech rules had no enforcement. So two major issues at New England Forest Rally that we should have had rules for and a clear set of guidelines, and our stewards did the best they could with the rule book they had, but based off the rule book, they were not able to enforce the rules historically as you would have in the past. So it really allowed us to come into Ojibwe and be at that final event with the final stage and actually see, you know, the competition wasn't decided until the very end there. So that was a lot of people think we did that on purpose or we manipulated the scenario. The rule book was the way that, you know, things happen at New England, that we allowed for this to happen, but it truly honestly was, you know, none of that was on purpose or planned out, and I wish we were good enough and smart enough to be able to make it that cool, but it truly was that cool and that an opportunity for competition to go to the very end of the season, and so it definitely was exciting. So from the competition side, I think we saw a lot of good stuff, and then, you know, the marketing side was a huge benefit and a huge step forward for the entire sport of stage rally with ARA this last year. So, you know, what we saw the American Rally Association app, and we had live timing and scoring on there, or live timing on the app, and being able to track all the vehicles on a map. And we set up our social media accounts to feed into the app, and we had a bunch of live videos. So having all of that put together, Matt Kalish, the guy behind the camera, and, you know, Mike Shaw, the voice of ARA, those guys did a ton of work and no money. We were, you know, scratched together this whole series out of nothing. So these guys were doing this out of the goodness of their heart and a little bit of, you know, maybe some expenses paid, but having them out there running the camera, getting you guys the story, getting the behind the scenes, being able to be on stage, and you know, watching even Mike grow on camera over the year, and it was really cool to see. And so, you know, I think for a grassroots effort in the sense of that, our media program was awesome. We opened up the media rights, so we saw a flood of media coming in that hadn't covered rally in a long time. We implemented a media vest system, and actually it required safety meetings with all the media, and so we saw really safe media. We had restricted level access and open level access media, so depending on your background, we would put you with experienced media or a steward or somebody, and could still get you behind the scenes if you had restricted access, but, you know, we weren't putting you on stage in dangerous scenarios unless we, you know, kind of proven and checked off as a stage rally photographer or videographer. So that was a huge win for ARA. We had a ton of media, a ton of exposure, people were talking, and it was just awesome to see. And I think that was a big growth for the sport of stage rally in the US, and that's something that we're really proud of that ARA was able to deliver in its first year out. You know, once we got to the end of the season, we did our award ceremony. We, as a board of directors, really learned a lot more about what we wanted to see and changes that we wanted to make, and defining the role of a competition director or a series manager. So we decided to move our entire structure to more of a have the person at the top be a series manager, and through that, you know, we decided to look for a new person to fill that role. So we did a bunch more interviews, and we actually ended up hiring a guy named Rick Kellett. And so if you've been following ARA, you know a little bit about that. And we came to PRI in December, and we were doing a lot of work trying to put sponsorship deals together. And just immediately after that, Rick had some major personal health issues that came up, and ended up actually being unable to fulfill the role of the series manager. So it's late December 2017. We're in a position where we don't really have clear leadership, and it's Kevin Miller had just been appointed as the president of ARA, overtaking Tim O'Neill's role, and he was the CEO of USAC, and so him and I had spent a number of conversations together trying to figure out what to do to solve our problem. So we kind of put together a list of, rather than open up a job description, we decided to try to go after people we thought would be the best candidate that we knew to take on the role of managing ARA. So, it was this pretty small list of people qualified to take over, and Doug Shepard was pretty much at the top of that list. Doug helped start ARA, but he fell out kind of throughout the process, and so he hadn't been involved much, but he has the background and knowledge of rally and the competition knowledge and experience, the supporting events and organizing events and putting all this together. And the nice thing is Kevin Miller used to work with him when he was at Dodge. So Doug used to be sponsored by Dodge when he was racing his Dodge, and Kevin was the one dealing with the sponsorship proposals. So it was a cool opportunity for Kevin and Doug to sit together, fresh, brand new perspective from Kevin Miller, getting Doug's input and feedback, and hearing from Doug what he thought would need to happen to make ARA better. So through that process and through the conversations with the board, it really made the most sense to let USAC take over managing ARA. It also gave Doug the comfort of knowing if he did come over to ARA and take over managing ARA, his paycheck would be coming from USAC, which is the top name if you're thinking sanctioning of any sort of off-road motorsport. So it was the smartest move around all the board overall. The board of directors in place was on board with the move. We had a call with all the events to ensure none of the events had issues. We had called the primary sponsors and made sure the sponsors were on board, and we decided to pull the trigger. So really that kind of rolls us up into today and where we're at today. Doug Shepard's now in charge, USAC is taking over ARA, and it's put the sport in a really cool position that someone, the backing of USAC and the support of USAC with someone as experienced as Doug Shepard being able to make decisions. And that's part of the reason I wanted to make this video series, is I wanted everyone to understand how we got to this point, and the fact that, if things were different with Rick and the plan was to really never have things happen this way, but life, happy accidents, everything that you will, we're in a much better position than we were yesterday. And it's one of those things that I think the sport of stage rally has this massive opportunity now, and the future of the sport, the issues that I could see, or the things that I want to be prepared for. Doug is taking over. He has perspective, but he's the sole decision maker again. So USAC's a nonprofit, and there's a lot of the benefits of nonprofit, but at the end of the day, there's a board of directors that oversee all of USAC's sanctioning events. So there's not going to be necessarily a direct board of directors in ARA that get to make decisions. There'll be an advisory board to Doug. Doug is a single source of power. So it's one of those things that I think Doug is humble enough and the right guy, no question, that we're not going to see the issues that we saw with Rally America. Many of the conversations I've had with Kevin Miller and USAC was the fact that, we're going to remain, a lot of the structure is going to remain in place, but that was part of the problem with ARA. Having a board of directors, we weren't making decisions. We were putting stuff off. We were trying to let committees have more input, and it just got to the point where decisions weren't being made. So putting Doug in place and having a single source of power is the right call, in my opinion, but with that comes the risk of it going badly. So Doug and I have had those conversations, Kevin and I have had those conversations, but now I'm telling everyone here all of this so that you guys know that, and that you're able to have this perspective. The 2 years that I spent helping ARA and putting it together as a vice president, I want that knowledge to be out there, and so please ask questions if you want to know more about a certain detail that happened, or want to know more about the business of rally or sanctioning or any of that stuff. I'd be happy to do more videos. So I'd love your input, love your feedback. Put some comments in this comment section below, and hopefully I'll be talking to you guys again soon. So thank you so much, and have a good day.